Let's go!
Yes, sir.
Arkansas fans, you've got a massive issue on your hands, and it's that pass catcher.
It's been really good. Just like you said, seeing, all new faces and, just trying to get chemistry.
I don't think you have the juice at wide receiver or tight end this year, but I'll tell you why coming up. It may not be that big of a deal. So Raylen Sharpe gets a nice catch there. He is a transfer from Fresno State. And then you have Omega Blake right here, who I believe is in from Coastal Carolina. Someone correct me on that. It's either Coastal Carolina or I believe Charlotte. But either way, coming up next, and this drove me crazy. Sam Pittman, what are you doing? There are two number 11s listed on the roster, both that wide receiver. Okay, I understand offense, defense 11s, but whatever. That's Monte Harrison. Let's go. He makes a nice catch there. And number 84, I don't remember his name, but I do know he's from Denver, Colorado, home of the spookiest airport of all time. I watched a video on that from Tonio Guarado. I don't know if I said his last name correctly, but he's awesome. We end things here with Courtney Crutchfield, and man, he is getting a lot of hype. So he was a top 100 recruit from the state of Arkansas, Pine Bluff Zebras to be exact. I remember going up against Pine Bluff in my high school days, and he was at Missouri, had a single digit there, didn't do anything, transfers over to Arkansas, and, well, he's not burned up any eligibility, so we'll see what he can do next season. So, wide receiver. This is a huge, and I mean massive, massive, massive step down from where they were last season. Okay, that was Cam Shanks, a transfer from UAB. I don't think people around the country fully appreciated how damn good this wide receiver room last year was. For Isaac Tesla to not really produce last season, but have one of the best NFL combines, lets you know how loaded that room was. And obviously the big guy was Andrew Armstrong. He's gone. I think he could be a very underrated NFL player. But, man, I just don't see it with this room next season. Not having pass catchers just isn't as big of a deal with a dual threat quarterback who's not really good at throwing to wide receivers anyway. And that is Taylen Green's game. I don't think a whole lot is going to change from one year to the next. Now, Rodney Hill, you go from number 20 to number 1. You're Uno now. I expect to see more out of you now that you're in this jersey number. We'll see going into that. The reason why I don't think not having the best pass catchers is that big of a deal is because of a shift in identity of this team. You should be a smash mouth team, and this guy should be your RB1. SEC teams are missing out on not going back under center. I'm just a big believer in it. I think there is so many advantages to doing it because teams just don't practice against it a whole lot. You don't really see it a whole lot. And I believe under center play action game is just far more lethal. So Bobby Petrino understands this, but to me, the biggest benefit of Andrew Armstrong leaving this wide receiver room is something we don't talk a whole lot about. And this is another running back, Washington, who's a transfer, reminding you of that number 4 from Cedric Cobbs. And then this is also a player, if you're not going to have great receivers, having a tight end who can block and catch, like Posky, is very, very, very lucrative. So hopefully he steps up and has a big season next year. Now, this is why no Armstrong and no Tesla, along with no Satania anymore, might be a good thing. But first, we got to shout out our friends at Sequoia Dental. Here's the simple truth. You won't find a better dentistry in all of Northwest Arkansas. Check out my lifelong friend, Dr. William Wilson, and his lovely staff today. And next person that switches over to Sequoia Dental, you get dinner on me next time I'm in Northwest Arkansas. SequoiaDental.com. Book today. Now, this is about to get a little deep. Pause. Okay.
He says his pause of the year so far.
That's what she's never said to me. Anyway. Anyway. You got to have fun. It's spring practice. What happens when you have a quarterback who's not the best processor in the world, which, of course, is Taylen Green, you do tend to tunnel vision in on your number one guy. And that, I think, actually held our guy, Taylen Green, back. Okay, I say our guy. I'm not even an Arkansas fan. But, I think quarterbacks that aren't fully progressed as passers, it can get that way if you don't have a go-to bona fide number one option. So what that means is, yes, you're going to miss out on a lot of the big playability that Andrew Armstrong provided you, but maybe that could lend itself to Taylen Green actually going through progressions and spreading the football around. As many of you know, and all our film studies from last year showed, Taylen Green, he would be a one-read, tuck-and-run quarterback, and there would also be times where he wouldn't just tuck and run vertically in wide-open pass rush lane integrity lost lanes. I didn't say that smoothly at all. But hopefully the mental aspect of going to different receivers actually helps Taylen Green out. I think that's why guys like Isaiah Satania left. I think that's why guys like Isaac Tesla, who aren't the best separators but are still good players. I mean, Tesla's film was not that bad last year. I think that's why they weren't as productive. So I hope for you Arkansas fans, Taylen Green becomes a better overall quarterback in terms of spreading the football around, because we all know he can run. So let's apply this to actual game film footage. I do think Arkansas will miss Jaquindon Jackson dearly, and if you are a Power Hour SEC subscriber, you know that out of anyone that called Jaquindon Jackson's phenomenal season being ended by injury, it was me. Literally, it was one of my best calls ever, okay? To me, he was by far, outside of Armstrong, the best player on this Arkansas offense. So, you'll see right here on this double slant concept that this player did a good job watching film. He knew that Armstrong was the number one guy. Taylen Green locking in on Armstrong right here. And this linebacker knew he had help, so he did a good job kind of faking like he was going with Satania and then just picking this off. And, Taylen Green assumed that since this corner was this far off, man, look, this corner is in smack over here. He knew that this was a route that Taylen Green will lock in on, and this ended up almost being a pick six. And this right here was another big mistake from Taylen Green in this Auburn game. Now, he ultimately made one of the best throws of the year in the SEC later in this game. But you see, Armstrong here gets a really good release, but on 3rd and 12 in plus territory, there's a lot of value in throwing something short, right? DBs are going to be sitting heavy on the sticks, so throwing something underneath to make it a manageable fourth where you could go for it is very valuable. So he decides to go full field. He starts off looking to the right and works back to Armstrong on the left, and he undershoots it, right? But you'll see on this angle right here, this is where the ball should have gone. Okay, you hit this intermediate. Maybe he is picking up the first down off of this, but this corner, after getting beat off the line of scrimmage, played it really well for. Is actually a really good player. He picks it off. It was an underthrow. A perfect throw gets that done, but that is such a difficult throw, and that was him locking in on Armstrong. There's just so many mental things that even if you had a big-time receiver like Andrew Armstrong back, you would need him to get better in all the simple football IQ things that he needs to get better at. Obviously, the first is what we just mentioned, running vertically when you have the opportunity when the pass rush lane is wide open, but also just going through your progressions. As many of you saw, there were other open receivers quite a bit with Taylen Green running the Petrino offense last season, and he just didn't trust himself to throw those passes. So if he becomes better as a quarterback, hopefully one of these transfers, I'll be honest, after watching quite a few of them and some of their college tape, I guess I've grown a little bit on Raylen, Sharpe, and Omega Blake, and maybe Courtney Crutchfield is something, but I really, really, really don't see it with this pass catcher group. Now, of course, it's really tough to film this. There were some one-on-ones being done right there, but this is a guy. I mean, I just think the SEC is sleeping on Carmona last year, okay? He was an overall good player, and his season ended in viral calamity, and your boy was indirectly involved with that. I won't get into that story, but maybe this offensive line's better. I mean, this is and I will say it's a do-or-die season for Sam, or is it? I don't know at this point. My opinion, of course, is very, very, very public on that issue. But whatever the case may be, I hope this offensive line is better than what it was last season. I think that's probably a bigger concern for you guys than even at wide receiver. But I don't know. I really, really, really don't know. I think for this team and this offense to be good, I do think you can make a very strong case that this is a top 5-ish running back room. But outside of that, which position group offensively can you say Arkansas is elite at in the SEC next season offensively? I don't know. But my favorite player on this offensive line, 54. Bring the Burlsworth helmet back, please. Keyshawn Blackstock, a transfer from Michigan State. I think he actually started. Wait, was he? Yes. That's the same Blackstock from last season. Yes, of course. I didn't know he switched over to this. Let's freaking go, bro. This is just aura. Get this man a Wright's NIL deal. And I'm a Wright super fan, by the way. Shout out to Wright's Barbecue. To be fair, I'm a fan of all barbecue. I've actually had quite a good bit of BBQ in the natural state. So, comment below. Do you believe Arkansas will have a top half SEC offense next season? I don't think a lot of you are ambitious enough to say top 3 or maybe even top 5. So let's go top 8. You do have a top 8 play caller, and you would like to think that Taylen Green going into year 2 could be a top half SEC quarterback. How many quarterbacks in the conference for sure clear Taylen Green? Well, Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, definitely. I think some would say DJ Lagway. A lot would say Arch Manning, even though he's only started a couple of games. I don't know. But there you go. Now, floating in your face here in just a moment, it'll be our first defensive breakdown. But, man, I am a Bobby P fanatic. I understand there's more to the story than recent years. But my final take here, that dude was incredible last season for Arkansas. There were some play calls I wouldn't have done in certain situations. I do think Arkansas needs to work on their back to the goal line play calls and protections, but that's a different story for a different day. It is Power Hour SEC. Boom. Tonight we are doing steaks.